President Donald Trump has a lot of people upset after saying Jewish people are disloyal if they vote for Democrats. Take a listen.
I think any Jewish people that vote for a Democrat, I think it shows either a total lack of knowledge or great disloyalty.
Now, the president referring to Congresswoman Ilhan Omar and Rashid Tlaib, who were blocked from going to Israel. A recent Associated Press poll shows most Jewish voters identify as Democrats and that 74% of Jewish voters disapprove of the president's job performance. Then today, the president retweeted it. President Trump is the greatest president for Jews and for Israel in the history of the world. Not just America, he's the president for Israel in the history of the world, and the Jewish people in Israel love him like he's the king of Israel. They love him like he is the second coming of God. We can't make this stuff up. Here to talk about this is Jewish Democratic State Representative John Rosenthal and conservative commentator Justin Lurie. What the hell happened to you, Justin?
I was at the Astros game.
Well, we
Go
thank you for
Astros.
coming by. So when you hear these comments from President Trump, and see that tweet that he retweeted, which he had to believe in it in some form or fashion, do you follow that line of thinking?
I don't think we should take the tweet literally like it's Shakespeare. Well, let's just take kind of the theme of it. And overarching, Trump has done an awful lot for the state of Israel. We can go through the list, all right, real quick. First one, the United Nations Agency on Palestinian Refugees. They've been the U.S. has defunded that, our portion of it, because the Palestinians have been claiming refugee status since 1948. That is 70 years. Finally, after decades, the PLO, Palestinian Liberalization Organization, has finally been kicked out of Washington, D.C. And I think even more important is that Trump recognized the sovereignty over the Golan Heights. When you go up there and you're looking at the Golan Heights, you stand there and
we're missing the subject at hand, where he says all Jews should be voting Republican, and if they're Democrat, they're misinformed.
Okay, well, he's saying, when you use that word, was it dishonest, whatever that word was he used in the tweet, he's saying that why would you vote for somebody who clearly hates you? The Tlaibs, the Omar, they are clearly anti-Semitic. How many times must they say it? Why would someone of Jewish faith and Jewish pride defend these people? These people hate the Jewish people. So you're being disloyal. That's what the word was. You're being disloyal to yourself. That's the idea.
Let's bring you into this conversation and see what you can weigh in with, hearing what the president had to say over the last couple of days and seeing that tweet as well.
Well, you're going to have to forgive me for having a completely opposite view of this. So I'm a Jewish American. I grew up in that faith. I came from a mixed household. So I accept all faiths, love them all, hate none. But I've been to Israel. I lived there for a year. So I'm as far away from anti-Semitic as you can imagine. But I see those tropes as really bigoted rhetoric. It's anti-Semitic. And any rhetoric that dehumanizes any of us injures us all. That's just my view.
Now, the president's decision to tweet out last week saying that these members of Congress should not be allowed in Israel. And then, of course, Netanyahu agreed, banning them essentially. Do you agree with that?
I think that's a huge error. It's a huge misstep by our administration and by Netanyahu. I think if you want to bring people to your side, have them see your point of view, best way to do that is to bring them into the fold, show them what you're about, have the conversation across the table.
Justin, do you see anything that the president has said in this discussion over Jewish voters to be ridiculous at all? Or you're just totally agreeing, cheering him on, saying, yeah, that's my president, he's right?
Well, I would certainly like to use different verbiage. So some people
notice how you choose your words carefully.
Yeah, well, and I really like the Trump personality. I like his style. We're both native New Yorkers, so maybe I have a different perspective on his personality and other people's, and that's okay. But I think the message, the overarching message, and even more importantly, the things that he has done, the accomplishments he's made, like moving the embassy to Jerusalem after decades of discussing that, that's what really matters. The policies and the actions, not this little ticky-tack verbiage.
Do you think that ticky-tack verbiage matters to the voters out there? And do you think he will push away some of the voters of Jewish faith because of these comments?
I absolutely think that words matter. How we express ourselves, how that gets put out in the world is hugely important. And there is no question in my mind that the way that these comments come out are going to turn off Jewish Americans by and large. There will always be some people who take different sides, but from my point of view, this is going to be largely damaging.
If you have to choose between Tlaib and Omar and the words, I mean, vicious words that they say, or you could say, oh, Trump is putting it a little bit out there, but the Trump actions are so positive for Israel. They're so positive for the Jewish people, including his own family, who are Orthodox Jews, and his grandchildren, and his daughter, and his son-in-law. Look at his actions. Look what he does, and compare that to Tlaib and Omar. And if we really think that the Jewish people will move away from Trump and towards them, I think that's totally
So
ludicrous.
you don't think this will turn some of them off, Justin?
I think that we bring this conversation to the forefront and let people decide for themselves. Watch the full videos of what Trump says. Watch the full press conference. Decide for yourself. And the more people who watch it, the more Trump fans we'll have, because the media is manipulating you.
All right.
Not you.
I don't know if I want to let you get away with that last word, but
Not
thank
you,
you guys
sir.
for joining us here on The Fact Uncensored.